Are you in favor of term limits for Congress? Well, you might be stupid then. Okay, that's rude. Maybe you're just a little ignorant. Ignorance can be fixed. So, there's a lot of things that go wrong with our government, and we have the urge to want to fix the problem, and our heart's in the right place there. Problem is, government's very complicated, and trying to come up with the fix causes us to tend to head towards the easiest fix. Now, term limits seem to almost have a supernatural aura to them. We imagine a few Congress people we hate, and then we chuckle to ourselves, imagining them packing off to go home, never to be seen on our screens again. Like maybe these ladies here. And of course, the people we really hate, like Rand Paul and Thomas Massey, Ted Cruz, Mike Lee. Yeah, send them bastards home. No more people like Ron Paul sitting for decades in Congress. Oh, wait, you like these guys? Okay, so you see the first problem. But it actually gets a lot worse. Right now, most legislation is written by a fusion of staff members, lobbyists, and bureaucrats from the agencies most affected. Congress often doesn't write the bills, and we know they have complained about being forced to vote on bills they haven't even read. Now, we do know that several states have imposed term limits on their state legislatures. The lucky thing for us is studies have been performed on the before and after impacts of these. So let's take a look at the results. First, in terms of productivity, the study suggests that term limits lead to a decrease in the legislative productivity. Term limited legislatures, knowing they will soon be out of office, seem less inclined to engage deeply with policy making processes, leading to fewer bills sponsored and less activity in committees. What about budget deficits? Well, the studies pretty much show no impact. If you have budget deficits, processes in place, and the trends will tend not to change. So if you're increasing, you'll keep increasing. If you're just chronically in debt, you'll stay chronically in debt. At least that's what the handful of state legislatures would indicate to us. What about campaign spending? There's no evidence of campaign spending decreases at all, but there is some evidence that campaign spending increases. If congressional races become more expensive, that's a benefit to the establishment. What about lobbyists? Contrary to the hopes of the term limit advocates, the influence of lobbyists often increases with term limits. This is because term limited legislatures, with less time to develop expertise, end up relying more on the lobbyists for information and policy drafting. The loss of institutional knowledge amongst the legislators often enhances the lobbyist's influence over the legislative process. What about our friends, the bureaucrats? Term limits tend to increase the power of the bureaucracy. With legislators cycling in and out due to term limits, there is a noted shift where bureaucrats and legislative staff gain more influence over the legislative outcomes because they have the institutional memory and the expertise. How about polarization? Term limits have been linked to increased legislative polarization, as legislators with less time to build relationships might stick more rigidly to party lines. And then there's relationship to the executive branch. There's an observed shift in power dynamics where the executive branch, particularly the governor, gains influence over policy due to the legislature's inexperience and turnover. So, with the evidence I've just presented, what is your contrary rationale for term limits? if what we know so far is the outcomes are all, at the very least, neutral, but tend to be worse outcomes. I'd assume most of these outcomes people would view as being worse. So, what is the rationale for term limits? Now, I don't think there are any good ones at the moment. I do have some ideas for reforms that might work. I'll do those in a future video. Where did I come up with all this information? I have citations in the description. So, in the comments below, has this changed your position on term limits? What do you have as contrary evidence that would indicate that term limits are actually going to do something rather than something that just seems like it might work? And if you have any good papers or videos that indicate this kind of information, post those in the comments as well so I can see contrary views. Please smash the like button. If the YouTube algorithms brought you here and you're not a regular subscriber, please consider looking at my other titles. You probably find a lot of things you'll like. Consider subscribing. Also, if you know somebody who might find this interesting, share it with them. So thank you for spending time with me this evening. Hope to see you again in a future video.